Okay, assalamu alaikum, and we are live. Hope you are anyway. Let me share my screen. Give me a second, I'm running a bit late. Okay, all set up. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hope you're all well. Who do we have with us today? And can we have a sound check? Is the sound okay? Assalamu alaikum, Pat Boy. Yep, let's go. Let's go indeed. Who else do we have? We have five viewers. Does it sound okay? Just let me know and then I can begin. Nobody seems to be answering. Adriana, assalamu alaikum, Adriana. Hope you are well. Can somebody confirm the sound is okay? Sounds good. Thank you very much. Muhammad Nay Mary. Is that like another way of writing Neymar? Right, okay. Today is going to be very short. It's not going to be very long at all. Just a brief comment on a couple of verses. The job of the Faqih. So, fiqh is basically in the Qur'an, it's understanding, tafaqquh fi din. So there's only one real verse which talks about that, about gaining fiqh or understanding of the religion. And of course, it doesn't mean the fiqh that we currently know, right? The fiqh, which is basically the jurisprudence of how to pray, how to, what breaks the wudu, all of this kind of stuff. Okay, it's a different fiqh in the Quran. But we have this verse here, which says, وما كان المؤمنون لينفروا كافة فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون. So this gives us basically the job of the person who gains fiqh in the deen. So it is talking about it is not for the believers, for the faithful to go forth, to go out and battle all at once. Not everybody should go. For there should separate from every division of them a group who will remain, to obtain understanding in the religion. To obtain understanding in the religion. لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ, to gain fiqh of the deen. Why? What are they supposed to do with that fiqh? The verse says, to warn their people when they return to them. Warn them so they can do what? So that they may be cautious, right? لِيُنذِرُوا قَوْمَهُمْ إِذَا رَجَعُوا إِلَيْهِمْ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَحْذَرُونَ. So we have the inzar, and for them to have hadar, okay? Inzar, and for them to have hadar. This is another translation of Yusuf Ali. He says, nor should the believers all go forth together. If a contingent from every expedition remain behind, they could devote themselves to studies in religion and admonish the people when they return to them, that thus they may learn to guard themselves against evil. That's how Yusuf Ali has it. Okay, so the primary task of one who gains fiqh, and by that we mean, of course, again, the Qur'anic fiqh of the deen, isn't to give fatwas, isn't to give rules, isn't to give ahkam to others. It's not what you're supposed to do. Once you gain fiqh of the deen, really isn't that you're supposed to be giving other people. Well, of course, maybe it can include, but the overarching idea in this verse, which needs investigation. I admit that, of course, it needs a lot of investigation to understand what does it mean, what falls under this, and what doesn't fall under this. But a point of it is that there's supposed to be warners. Okay, it is to warn others so that these others, may be cautious. Okay, it's to become warners. Isn't to become overbearing, providers of rules, of do's and don'ts, of this is haram, this is halal, this is it. No, it's supposed to actually impart on the others a sense of warning. Okay, and if you look at the idea of warning in the Quran, it's what all of the messengers have done, right? We do not send the messengers except bringers of glad tidings and warners. So, a faqih, a person who has fiqh, would do well to look in the Quran to see how the messengers warned. Okay, how did they warn? Right? The warning wasn't about, what we would consider now to be fiqh issues. It wasn't done that way. Okay, so what understanding do you gain from the deen? And this understanding, this fiqh, is what imparts in the faqih the ability to warn others, in a way that they may be cautious. Okay, that's the crux of this. Okay, this mirrors a verse which Hassan al-Maliki mentions often. Okay, and it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وكذلك نفصل الآيات ولتستبين سبيل المجرمين. And thus do we detail. نفصل doesn't mean actually detail. It's like putting things. Thus do we categorize the verses, because a lot of people keep on going and saying, the Quran contains is fully detailed. It doesn't mean fully detailed. When the Quran is described as mufassal, it doesn't mean fully detailed as it has all the details. It means it's like fully categorized. It has everything in its place, everything in its fasl. Okay, كذلك نفصل الآيات ولتستبين سبيل المجرمين, and so that, or thus, the way of the criminals, the mujrimeen, may become evident. Okay, why? Why should the way of the mujrimeen, the way of the criminals, become evident? Why does that have to be highlighted? This is one of the purposes of the verses of the Quran, right? Of them being mufassal. It is so that the way of the mujrimeen can become clear to everybody. Why? So, of course, again, so that we may be cautious of them, to stay away from it, right? Why? To be careful of them, so as not to follow them, so as to be warned. So we have a warning of the way of the mujrimeen that we are supposed to stay away from. The interesting thing about this, job of the faqih, it can then be said to be a continuation of the prophetic function of warning. The prophets are mubashiran wa nadhira, right? The Messenger of Allah was sent as a mubashir wa nadhir, okay? Yubashir wa yunzir. So it's the faqih continues this function of being a munzir, but not the complementary prophetic function of being a mubashir, of giving good tidings. That's not mentioned. Very interesting, right? The verse doesn't say ليتفقهوا في الدين لينذروا وليبشروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم. It doesn't say that, right? It says لينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم. Sorry, I think we had a slight sound. Okay, so yeah, very interesting. It doesn't say that, and that throws not suspicion, but I mean, what does it say about this famous hadith? Right, there's a famous hadith of the Prophet where he said, "Bashiru wa la tunaffiru," right? He said, of course, part of it he said, "Yassiru wa la tu'assiru," make things easy, don't make things difficult. One of the things in the hadith, which I accept, I mean, it doesn't contradict the Quran, but I'm wondering about the word right? Bashiru, right? Bashiru wa la tunaffiru, right? It says Bashiru, give good tidings, but don't make people flee away. La tunaffiru. And of course, you do not make people run away from the deen, and you try to give good tidings. But I'm wondering if what would be closer to the Quran, and thus probably closer what the Prophet actually did say, might have been wanziru wa la tunaffiru, and that complements together more, right? So warn, but don't make people run away. See what I mean? So yes, you are warners, be warners, right? you've gained fiqh of the deen to be warners, but don't let that warning, your warning shouldn't overstep into where you're now making people flee away from the deen, run away. Okay, so the original words spoken by the Prophet, because of course all we have is the isnad and the sanad, and if you find something where there seems to be a mirroring, where there seems to be some wording from the Quran which would have fit better into the Prophet in a hadith that comes down, that's one of the ways to sort of weaken a hadith. If we were to have a Quranic science of judging hadiths, one way is to look at the wording of the hadith and see if there was something analogous in the Quran, right? For example, let me give you a very clear one. I recently actually mentioned this not recently, but I think about a month ago, on a YouTube video. One of those, you have these short YouTube clips now, right? I think YouTube Short or something, where somebody was reading one of the verses, one hadith, where it says, that nobody would enter paradise by their deeds, right? لن يدخل الجنة أحدا عمله. Okay, though that exact phrase is literally directly contradicting the verses which say ادخلوا الجنة بما كنتم تعملون. Literally the same words, except over here it's saying you won't, and the Quran says enter. So, and of course, the scholars make various interpretations about how this doesn't contradict the Quran, and in the end they stick with the hadith above the Quran, right? But that's a very clear. I mean, we need to remember that the Prophet was immersed in the Quran. He was really immersed in it. The language of it was never far from his mind or heart or tongue. Okay, so when he would never speak something and be oblivious to the fact that what he's saying is literally directly contradicting a verse of the Quran. It's like diametrically opposed. The verse says, "Enter paradise by what you used to do," and Hadith says, "None will enter paradise by what he used to do." No, that can't be. Okay, that can't be. So when I see this, Bashiru. Well, the Quran says, "لينذروا." Right? The verse says, لِيُنذِرُوا قَوْمَهُمْ إِذَا رَجَعُوا إِلَيْهِمْ لَعَلَّهُم يَرْجِعُونَ. Those who are to gain fiqh, their function is to become warners. Doesn't say لِيُبَشِّرُوا. Doesn't say لِيُبَشِّرُوا قَوْمَهُم. It says لِيُنذِرُوا. And as I said again, this could fit better with the negative of that, right? So you'd say to somebody, you could say give good tidings and don't make people run away. That works, but maybe what works better is warn people, but don't make them run away. Don't make them run away. All right, okay, that's basically all I had today to share with you. Hope you found that useful. I told you it was going to be short and barely 15 minutes. Okay, very good. So let's have a look at the chat. See if we have anybody backstage. Nobody backstage to come on. Alaikum assalam, just a Muslim. Hope you are well. Prayas. Assalamu alaikum. And many salams from everybody else. Roman Lopez. All right, good. Okay, that's basically the end of, like I said, what I wanted to present today. Anybody want to come on, or anybody have anything to write in the chat that I can highlight? Anything to share? If not, then we'll end this early today, maybe. I remember we said we might end it early on 2 weeks ago when we went up to 2 hours, right? But that was good. That was a good stream, that one. We had a lot of people come on. Don't mind the doors opening and shutting. Okay, looks like we're all very silent. Just a Muslim says he has a question. Yes. Go ahead. I don't mind questions if you don't mind my answers. تفضل. Wait for him to type it up. Well, it's a different question from somebody else. But where and when did the Islamic scholars go wrong? Well, speaking of them that way as if it's the one whole unit. You have all the different sects. I mean, which Islamic scholars, um, which scholars of which sect. When we basically we went. The Ummah was going astray pretty well, okay, even before the seeds or the roots of it were there even before the Prophet passed away. Even before the Prophet passed away. If you look at the way the Quran talks about the munafiqun, the hypocrites, it's increasing. The amount it speaks about them increases all the way until the final two chapters of the Quran, right? So Surah Tawbah, heavily speaking about the hypocrites. You'd think that Medina and those around Medina were filled with hypocrites, you know. So they were there. And in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Hassan Maliki mentions a lot that surah is it's consoling the Prophet, you know. It's telling the Prophet, don't be sad about those who are racing in kufr. Now, racing in kufr, this is like the last year of the Prophet's life, where we believe in traditional Islam that the whole of the Arabian Peninsula, all of them were Muslim, and especially everybody around them in Medina were Muslim, and they were all falling on each other to do the Prophet's bidding and to do what he says. Yet the Quran is consoling the Prophet, telling him, لا يحزنك الذين يسارعون في الكفر. Let not those who are racing in kufr, literally they're racing each other in kufr, don't let them make you sad. So that was happening right at the end of the Prophet's life, and there are signs for that for anybody who knows. I mean, in the last year of the Prophet's life, there were two assassination attempts on his life on the way back from Tabuk and after Ghadir Khum in Harsha. So there were a lot of that, and then of course there's the issue is that those who are like this, so the hypocrites who some of whom knew that it's not a hypocrite doesn't have to know that he's a hypocrite. Okay, just like when we talk about iman, there are some people who are believers. They have iman even though they don't think they are. Okay, they might think themselves as atheists or non-believers, but they might actually have iman. And so some munafiqun have nifaq, but they don't. And the Quran says, the munafiqun la yafqahun, la ya'lamun, la ya'qilun. They don't understand, they don't know, they don't feel it. La yash'urun. Okay, it says all those things about the hypocrites. And the issue was that among the righteous companions, even there were those who used to listen to them. The Quran says, "Fikum sama'un lahum." Among you are those who listen to them. So if we take that as part of the sanad, part of the isnad of hadiths, somebody says, I heard so and so say that he heard so and so say that he heard so and so say. Okay, and it could be that this last person who said, um, this person say that the Messenger of Allah said something, that this person was a hypocrite. Okay, because the Quran says, among you are those who listen to the hypocrites. In the extreme sense, سَمَّاعُونَ لَهُمْ. Like you really hear them, you really listen to them. What they have to say, you listen and you believe, and then you will transmit it on to others. So then that comes down to us. In terms of the hadith sciences, there's this ridiculous rule that a Sahabi can narrate from another Sahabi without a Sahabi can narrate from another Sahabi without saying who he got it from. He can just say the Messenger of Allah said X, Y, Z. Okay, when it isn't the truth. Among the most easiest one for anybody who isn't sectarian to realize is that Abu Bakr heard, he took the hadith that the Prophet said that what we leave behind is charity, that we are not, that prophets do not inherit, what we leave behind is charity. It's obvious that Abu Bakr got that from one of the hypocrites. Okay, how is it that Abu Bakr knows it and the Prophet didn't tell that to the one person who is supposed to inherit him, Fatima? Okay, and this created a huge problem, right? But it was, part of the hypocrites to take away, sort of like the funding from an opposition camp, etc. But and of course, later we have the narration of Abu Bakr himself burning a bunch of hadiths. Okay, he had like a collection of hadiths, around 500 or so, and he burnt them. When Aisha asked him, why you do that, he says, some people told me these things and I'm not sure if I can trust it. So in the end, he himself, recognized this, right? Recognized this. So, there's so much we can talk about in terms of where things went wrong. And it was a gradual thing. I mean, you could say that where is the biggest issue that the Ummah faced, okay? Was it, did things go straight right after the Prophet passed away? Or was it, Uthman, Uthman allowing a lot of the Prophet's former enemies to basically be in control of everything, and which led to an uprising against him? Was it when Uthman was murdered? Okay, was it, where was it? And there's, it's a complicated weave of things, and there's not just one thing. There's many, many, many things. But if you want the number one thing, it is that we abandon the Quran, plain and simple. As the Prophet said, we'd follow the way of those before us, right? And the Quran mentions that the Jews and Christians, it says to them, okay, لستم على شيء حتى تقيموا التوراة والإنجيل وما أنزل عليكم من ربكم. You have nothing until you actually establish the Torah and the Injil and what was sent down to you. And that same thing can be said to us. In fact, almost everything that can be said to the Bani Israel, to the Jews and Christians in the Quran, it can be said to the Muslim Ummah right now. So the number one thing is the abandonment of the Quran. Okay, we have the question here. أعرفوا أن كلمة الأحد تقال عندما يكون نائقا. Okay. Okay, so he's asking, what is the difference between, what do you think is the difference between Ahl al-Kitab and the word in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ? And there's also a third one also, الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابِ. So there's Ahl al-Kitab, the people of the book, الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ, those who were given the book, and there's also الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابِ, those whom we gave the book. Okay, and there's also Ahl al-Bayt in the Quran, and Ahl al-Kalima, Ahl Kalimat al-Haq, كانوا أو what is أورثناهم كلمة الحق وكانوا أهلا بها أهلها أحق بها وأهلها. I think that's the verse. كلمة أهل تعني أهلية. So he's asking, what's your opinion about the word أهل in all of those means that I don't even know how to say that. What do you say? أهلية. Yeah, qualified sort of, yeah? Those who are qualified for something. So those who are qualified, so Ahl al-Kitab will be those who are qualified for the book. Like those who are appropriate with it. I think so, qualified is the best translation for Ahliya. But I would say Ahliya would be like qualified, appropriate, the most able, the most, I don't know, how would we put this into English? I'm not sure. But I'm not sure about this. I'd have to think more about it. But I can mention something which I don't know, I think you've heard, which is Adnan Ibrahim, what he says about Ahl al-Kitab and الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَهُمُ الْكِتَابِ and الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ. He says that whenever you see the word الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ, those who are given the book, it's God first, he's distancing himself from them. So those who are given the book, who gave them the book? Okay, so it isn't mentioned that God gave them the book. Okay, so it could be those who have sort of inherited it from those before them. But the point is that whenever that comes up in the Quran, Adnan Ibrahim says, I haven't checked this myself, he says that whenever that comes up, they are blamed in some way. Okay, the Ahlul Kitab are being, when it's written as الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا, those who are given the book, they are being found blameworthy for something in the Quran. They are being blamed. you know, it's in verses of itab, verses of blame, where they are being where God is condemning them for something. All right. Whereas the verses where it says الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمْ كِتَابًا, those whom we gave the book, in those verses they are being praised. They are being praised. So you find that, you know, when that verse comes along, the Ahlul Kitab have been mentioned for praiseworthy qualities. And then Ibrahim says, when it's just Ahlul Kitab, it's neutral. It's neutral. So they're just being questioned, yeah, about something. They are being, you know, being guided by something. Like in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, قل يا أهل الكتاب لما تحاجون في إبراهيم or أهل الكتاب, why are you arguing about Ibrahim when the Torah and the Injil were only revealed after him, for example. Okay, that's sort of neutral. Okay, or that it's, if it says Ahl al-Kitab, they are being blamed in one verse and praised in another one. So it's mixed. It's more neutral anyway. There's blame and praise given to them. So that's the most I know about that. Otherwise, I'd have to think about it. Yeah. So why did the election of Abu Bakr and the Saqif happen like that? What factions were the movers and shakers? It mainly happened because pressure from the Tulaqa, you know, the people from Mecca who came to Medina, over 2,000 of them. It also happened because, you know, because of the Banu Sulaim, who came in, the horsemen of Banu Sulaim, who came in and forced people to accept the bay'ah. A bunch of things, but basically because you know, the reasons for that were long before. So, you know, after Ghadir Khum, for example, right after it, the people started to flee, right? So, you know, right after Ghadir Khum, you know, where the Prophet made that, you know, made the announcement for Ali, the people started to rush away. So some started to hurry home, some started things. So even the Prophet said, he said, why is it that the tree, the half the tree, which is the tree which is closest to the Messenger of Allah, is more hated to you than the one which is further away. You know, he said this. You know, he saw the people after Ghadir Khum. A lot of people were fleeing away or running away, and so he said, why is it that, you know, even said it in a more emphatic way. He said, why is it that the half of the tree which is closest to the Messenger of Allah is more hated to you than the other half of the tree which is furthest away from the Messenger of Allah. So the things were there. The things were there. I mean, even on the Ansar, they sort of saw the writing in the wind, that sort of that they weren't. Ali wasn't being. There was a lot. There were the Quraysh basically were against him. There's a lot of noise coming on. Yeah, this verse, I mentioned it in one of the streams, Nuh's son, where, you know, this verse, قال نوح إنه ليس من أهلك, right? He said that God said to Noah, he is not from your family, right? ليس من أهلك. I actually think that's literal. I think that Nuh's son was a to put it in blunt terms, a bastard. Okay, so he was not Nuh's real biological son. Okay, he was a result of zina, of his wife's zina, which is why it says, قال نوح إنه ليس من أهلك إنه عمل غير صالح. He is an action which is not righteous. What is the action which is not righteous? It is a zina that his wife did, and, you know, he is basically the offspring of zina, a literal bastard. Okay, so that's how I see that. You know, I mean, I talked about it in the stream called Nuh's son. So if anybody's interested, they can go back and have a look at that. Assalamu alaikum. Do you also feel that the verse which mentioned and the eat of it about Adam and Eve means what? No, I don't. I think it actually means that there was fruit to eat from the tree, to eat from the trees in paradise of fruits there. But even that needs a lot of thought, right? I mean, why does God say don't eat from this one tree? What is it about this one tree? And the Christian says the tree of the knowledge of good and evil or something, right? A lot of the Sufis used to talk about this as it being um, they were trying to actually they thought it was actually one of the trees which we have on the world. So some said it was apple, some say it was a fig tree, some said a bunch of other things because they thought that it meant that there was some chemical in that tree which incited lusts, basically. And that's why after they ate it, they became sort of more sexually aware and started to cover themselves. So a lot of the Sufis were trying to find what tree is this so that they would not eat it, right? So as to control themselves. Yeah, exactly. So that's why, right? So they think there was a fruit, like almost like an aphrodisiac or something, right? Which I think that's what they say, but I don't think so. I haven't thought much about it. What is this tree, and why did God prohibit that one fruit? What was about it? I don't know. Not a clue. الشيخ ذاكر نايك وهل ذاكر ترجم إنه ليس من أهلك إلى إنه ليس من أسرتك عندما سألوه ماذا لو ارتد أحد من عائلتك عن الإسلام قال لأنه yeah, so he's just mentioning that how do you say his name? I don't even know. Zaik Naik, Zakir Naik. The famous Indian apologist. Is he from Pakistan? I don't even know. He said that when God said to Nuh, he is not from your family. It means he's not from your family, meaning that you are rejecting him out of the family. So you're saying you're not part of my family anymore. It means that you would disown anybody who leaves Islam. You disown anybody who leaves Islam. But Nuh's son didn't really he didn't enter Islam, did he? Was Nuh's son? Did he enter Islam for him to leave it? Um, and Nuh was still calling him, um, come, come to us and stuff. So I don't buy that at all. It's ridiculous. I mean, there's this whole thing of disowning family member. You can't disown family member. How are you going to disown a family? He's part of your blood. He's literally, your son is your son, your father is your father. You can't be disowned at all. It's just literally impossible. Um, which is why, for example, the Quran doesn't mention anything about inheritance um, and being blocked by kufr, as we have in fiqh and in narrations. They say that that those of two different religions can't inherit from each other. So a man could be wealthy and everything, and then his son is not allowed to inherit from him, which is of course nonsense, and it creates so much trouble in the Middle East right now with people who come and work there and stuff like that. A Christian woman, for example, who's married to a Muslim man in Saudi Arabia, then the husband dies, she can't inherit anything from him. She doesn't get anything from him. And if they have children and they are not Muslim, they can't inherit anything. And of course, all of that is nonsense. There is no reason why a father or a son can't inherit from parents, or children can't inherit from parents, even if they are not Muslim. I think the tree is like fruits with drugs effects. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what the Sufis seem to think. Well, some of them anyway. I think I was only reading. I don't think I was reading about that, which book it was, but they were thinking that it must be a specific tree, which is you can find here on Earth, which has negative effects, which you want to keep away from. Whether it's apple, some said the teen, some even said the fig tree. The olive tree. There are a bunch of different things. The pomegranate also came up, which is strange because pomegranate is mentioned in the Quran as being in Jannah. Yeah. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, I think we might. There's nothing else. We might end up calling it a day there. I don't think there's many. We've got 9 people on the stream now, but nobody willing to come on, even for just a chat. I do have the link on here, don't I? Plugged in. Pretty sure I do. Let me put it here anyway. Okay, there's the link for joining if anybody needs to. Anybody have any feedback on this idea of? Because I think it's a pretty interesting thing that when you think of people that go to get scholars to gain fiqh in the deen, then they're going to come back and you start asking and they start giving fatwa, right? They start becoming, muftis, right? They're there to give fatwa after fatwa, telling people what to do and what not to do. Whereas, what's haram and what's not. Whereas this with us, it mentions mainly in that, right? To be a warner, like in the prophetic sense, right? To continue sort of the job of the messengers, and it doesn't say to be a bringer of God tidings, not to be a mubashir. That's not mentioned. Where can anything be asked, or does it have to be about a topic? No, you can ask anything. It's fine. You can just come on and chat. Why don't you just come on and, if you can anyway. If not, you can just ask on the chat. No problem. I don't mind you asking anything, so long as you don't mind me answering anything. Pretty much. Don't forget. Okay, I should mention that I don't mind at all answering things and stuff. But this isn't. It's just me talking. It's not. It's not to be taken like some sort of like I don't know, scholarly fatwas or something. No. So yeah, you can ask anything, no problem. Yeah, and I should say also at the beginning that all of these streams, anything that I've been presenting, it's just again just part of my contemplation, and the point of it isn't to push it forward or say that it is right or it is the correct thing. I mean, it's in the end what I think, so that's what I'm going to put forward. But the point is really to just encourage other people to start, thinking and pondering over the Quran. That's it. And anybody can come here and, you know, um, share anything they want. And I'm not going to shoot it down and say it's not right or wrong or anything like that. They can just come on and share whatever they want. It's fine. Muslim or non-Muslim, it's all good. So let's go ahead, Yusuf Al-Basir, go ahead and type it up. And since it doesn't seem like we're going to have anybody on, I'll try to answer whatever you have or give a response at least, and then we'll end it. No problem, Adriana, it's fine. It's all good. Now we have here something I missed, DMT. Like DMT, for example, I heard about it making someone hallucinate. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, the ayahuasca, right? The term shajar can also mean family tree. Yeah, I mean, that's why you know, أكلوا من الشجرة. So if you're referring to that in terms of the thing with Adam, and they ate from the tree, which is interesting. They say ate from the tree, they didn't say ate from the fruit of the tree. So maybe the Sufis and everybody's been looking at the wrong thing, right? Because the the verse doesn't say they ate from the fruit from the tree, does it? I don't think so. Only from the top of my head, it says they ate from the tree. So what they ate from its leaves, from its bark, from its branches, or something. But typically, of course, it would mean that you know eat from the fruits of the trees. Um, but yeah, but if you're talking about that, then and if it meant family tree, then we're talking about cannibalism now, aren't we? Adam and Eve ate from the tree, they cannibalized their family or something. Don't cannibalize your family, would be the verse. Okay, I have a question about Al Khidr, namely he being ordered to kill the lad. What do you think about this verse? I recently watched an article by Hassan, I forgot his last name. Yeah, Hassan, I think Hassan Ridwan. Hassan Ridwan, the ex Muslim. Yeah, I mean, I like him. He's probably the ex-Muslim I like the most. I've actually got him featured on my channel. Yeah, what I think about that verse and the whole incident of Khidr is that first of all, this was all what Khidr was given was knowledge, right? So what he was given was knowledge, and he will be held responsible by how he acted in accordance with that knowledge, right? So yes, he killed that boy, um, but the knowledge of what that boy would do was given to him. So this is sort of like, think of it as a different. You know how sometimes people say if God was real, why didn't he stop Hitler, for example? When why did he allow Hitler to live, or any of the great mass murderers and stuff in history? And the answer to that is, if he did, you wouldn't know about it, would you? Right? We wouldn't know about it. And there are many, perhaps many, such atrocities, such things in the world that have been diverted by God through servants like Al Khidr, or who we call Al Khidr, right? So God has servants, and angels as well, who are active in the world, right? That they act in this world, right? When it comes to this person, Al Khidr, right? God gave him knowledge, right? And he wasn't given this knowledge, but it wasn't. You don't think that what he did is what God did. Okay, what he did is not what sort of God did. What God did is give him knowledge, and he acted in accordance with that knowledge. He made his own decision about that. He made his own decisions about that. So he decided to kill the lad, and he'll be questioned about it, whether it was the right thing to do or not. Okay, but it will be in accordance to a different set of laws, so to speak, right? Because this is a different sort of category of people. Whether he's a person or angel, it doesn't matter. It's a different category of servants of God, and there seems to be more of them, because the verse says, "Abdun abdun min ibadina," right? A servant from among our servants, as if there are many more like Al Khidr, in the world, active, preventing certain things from happening, or helping to ensure that certain things do happen. Okay, they are given knowledge from God's presence, which seems to be about knowledge of the future, right? So they are able to influence things in that kind of way. But they are still just like the prophets, just like the messengers. Okay, the messengers and prophets will be questioned. Huh? فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلُوا إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. We will certainly ask and question those who had messengers sent to them, and we will question and ask the messengers themselves. Right? They will all will be held accountable. All will be held. So this Khidr will be held accountable for what he did in each of those situations. So that's how I view that. That's how I view the issue of Khidr. So I want to know any idea, how did the idea of monasticism develop? Because I have no idea about that. For that, you're actually gonna have to ask the 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 Christians who know about this kind of stuff. Okay. Oh, you see, Yusuf. Did you ask your question? Was that your question? Oh, yeah, it was your question. Okay, yeah. Okay, good. Oh, and we've stayed on long enough to have a guest, Hector. Assalamu alaikum, Hector. Let's bring you on.
Walaikum assalam. Sorry I joined late.
No, no problem.
Had to get some work done.
It's okay.
No, I understand that if you want to just end now, it's okay. I understand.
No, 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 it's fine.
Okay. Um, I'm just having a little uh, trouble understanding a certain verse, and I was hoping that you can probably help me out with it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the verse is Surah 4, ayat 82.
Surah 4.
Ayat 82. The one that says, well, the translation in Sahih International is, then do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from other than Allah,
Yeah,
they would have found within it much contradiction.
yeah.
Okay. Now, I was just investigating certain things this week about finding conditional statements in the Quran.
Yeah.
Like in English, we will say the if, then, and philosophy, right?
Yeah.
And I ran into an article that kind of, I guess the person that writes this is showing that this statement itself is false.
Okay.
And basically, what they're saying is that isn't it possible that a man-made work or book can contain no errors or contradictions, right?
Yeah, of course. Of
Yes.
course.
So the person continued on, and they say that there are countless human texts that are free of error, especially falsifiable or findable errors, right?
Yeah.
And then the conclusion that this person gives is that uh, if this is the case, then it's possible for man-made works to be free from error. Then it's also possible that then he states that it's also possible for the Quran to contain no errors and be man-made.
Yeah, that's true.
You understand? Okay. So, and then he finishes off by saying, given the above the possibilities that I just mentioned earlier, um, they state they'll call this statement what they titled constructs a false conditional. Right. So, I mean, I don't know if, like, for me, basically, I'm not having issues accepting what the Quran says, but and I can understand what he says because it made me think, right? But I'm pretty sure that I guess it really has to deal more with content rather than just write anything, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could write a book with absolutely no errors. But first of all, okay, let's look at the
Hmm.
verse as it is, right? The verse
Yes.
says, "Will they not contemplate the Quran?
Yes.
And if it had been from other than God, they
Yes.
would have found in it اختلافا كثيرا." Okay, اختلاف
Can,
it doesn't
can
mean
you
like mistakes.
can you point out
Okay?
the word for me, which is other than God? Because I know غير.
Yeah, yeah.
I know.
غير الله. Yeah.
Okay.
لو كان, if it was from the presence or من عند other
Int.
than God, okay,
Uh-huh.
غير الله, لا, emphatic, the la here is like for emphasis. لا,
Okay.
right,
Like
وجدوا,
certainty.
yeah, so it's like emphasis, yeah. They would certainly have found in it اختلافا
Yes.
كثيرا, right,
A
اختلافا
great
كثيرا. Well,
great
well,
error, I guess.
no, well, it's not really error. I mean, what did the translation say? They say contradiction, which is better,
Contradiction,
and
yes, yes, yes.
yeah, discrepancies
Discrepancy, yes.
and congruity,
Incongruent.
contradictions, yeah, much like discrepancies, that sort of thing. So it basically means
Mhm. Yes.
um, um, when yeah, having differences. So like different opinions on the same thing,
Yes,
like
yes,
having
yes, yes.
differences. Like what they say that the differences of the scholars is a mercy, right? That's what they say, right? The differences of the scholars is a mercy. Um,
Yes.
whereas if, if the difference of a scholar is a mercy, and why isn't there differences in the Quran. That should be a mercy as well, but it isn't, right?
No, it isn't.
So اختلاف كثيرة, it means so it's about having its verses sort of clashing with each other, right? Being having different when you say khalf, it means behind somebody, right? اختلاف is like two people are having their backs to each other. They're facing different directions. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. The khalf of the person is their back, right? The interesting thing about this is even the word dabur is it means also the back. Like tadabbur means to find the back of something, the end of it, to seek out the back. Right?
Yes.
So أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ is like, will they not seek the what's behind, the back of it, follow something through to its other side, see what's behind the idea, follow it through, right? It says they would be, will they not do that with the Quran? And then they will see if they do tadabbur, they have to do tadabbur first, right? That's why these are there together. If you do tadabbur of the Quran, you will find that there is no ikhtilaf. That it doesn't
Tadabbur,
face tadabbur, yes.
can I say that it's more like investigating profoundly, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, you can say. I mean, it means sort of contemplating. But I'm just highlighting the origin of the word,
Yes.
right? Tadabbur, dubur, right? Like in the verses which talk about fighting in the cause of Allah. Yeah, don't turn your backs on the enemy.
Yes, we went over
La
that.
tuwalluhim duburuhu. Don't turn your back. Dubur. Don't turn your back to the enemy. Right? So it's saying, to do tadabbur means you don't just look at the face value of something.
Oh, okay.
Right? Don't look at the front only, the face of it, the front, what's facing you. Seek what's behind as well. Tadabbur. Seek the back.
So like
you see it from all sides, sort of. You can see
critical
the front.
thinking, critical reading.
Sort of critical thinking, but it's sort of like it's like you can see everything in front of you. Okay, now also see it from the other side as well.
From all
something.
perspectives.
Yeah. See what you can see in front of you and see the back end of it, right? Tadabbur. So أفلا يتدبر. So that means that tadabbur literally means to seek the back of something.
Wow.
To seek the back of something. So it says أفلا يتدبرون القرآن. Will they not do tadabbur? Will not look for the back of it, basically,
Yes.
right? Contemplate it profoundly, not just the surface thing. If they do that, they have to do that first. Then they will see. Then they will see that it has no ikhtilaf, basically. Because if it had been from other than God, okay, such a thing, which the things which the Quran talks about, the content, it's about what the Quran is, okay, not about anything having no ikhtilaf. If anybody else had tried to do something which touches on what the Quran touches on, about what the Quran talks about, okay, all of these things, then there would have been much contradiction in it. Okay, then somebody trying to write a book the size of the Quran, let alone that was done over 23 years and the rest of it, but just that feat alone, okay, on this subject matter, the subject matter of religion, of guidance, of deen. These are very profound things, right? Somebody can be in one mood one day, and his intellect pushes him to think of something in one way, and he writes it down, and then later he's in a sort of a different mood, with more of mercy or less of more justice or whatever it is, yeah. And he writes in a different sort of mood, and these things you end up finding them being contradictory. You can't have both, right? The one is facing one way, the other is facing the other way. They have their backs to each other. These two things have their backs to each other. Whereas the Quran is saying, no, if you seek the back of everything here in the Quran, you'll find that nothing has its back to the other. Okay, nothing is contradicting. It's not one thing is facing one way and the other thing is facing completely the other way. They're not irreconcilable. How do you say that, right? Irreconcilable or something? Irreconcilable. I don't know how to say it, to be honest.
To reconcile.
Yeah. Reconcile. They're not irreconcilable. I have no idea how to say that. Right? So you can't reconcile them, basically.
Yes.
You'll see, no, they can be reconciled, okay, if you seek the back of it. So that's what it's talking about. It's not talking about errors. You can have a book with errors, and the same errors are all over the book, and that's not ikhtilaf. Okay, that's not differences, because the same error is here and here and here and there. Okay, it's all wrong. It's all in error, but there's no contradiction within the text. Okay, all fits together. Okay, so it's not about errors.
Okay. Interesting point. Now, this question that in the first part of the ayat, right? So it's a
Yeah,
rhetorical question then.
yeah, it's a rhetorical question.
Hmm.
It's an encouraging question, sort of. Not really rhetorical, because it is looking for, will they not do that? It's like encouraging, pushing you towards that.
Yeah.
Will they not contemplate the Quran? Right? It's just pushing towards. It's not really, rhetorical questions. Are like, "Alaysa Allahu bi'ahkamil hakimin?" Is not God the most um, wisest of judges? That's a rhetorical question, because
Yes, it
of
is.
course, yes,
It
that
is.
this isn't really rhetorical. It's more encouraging, or pushing, or sort of blaming them, those who are there, for not contemplating the Quran. Will they not contemplate the Quran, like that? And of course, the other time where that phrase comes up, it says, "Am ala qulubin aqfaluha," or is it that on their hearts are their own locks? So this phrase, "Afala yatadabbaruna al-Quran," that comes up twice in the Quran.
And the other one is
The other one is in Surah Muhammad.
in Surah
It says,
Muhammad.
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها, or is it upon their hearts or their own locks?
So they kind of you were saying that Surah Muhammad, that second part means more or less that we closed ourselves from really
Yeah, yeah.
searching the back in
Well, it's just the way. I mean, the way it's what you could say, or it could have said, or are there locks on their hearts? But then that would sort of mean that it would open up the possibility that those locks are not part of the person's heart. I was saying I don't know if it was in this stream or in other places, I don't know where, that you can't lock up. Nobody can lock up nobody can lock somebody else's heart. You
no,
do
of
that to
course not.
yourself. Yeah,
Of
you
course
do
not.
that to yourself. So
Yes.
that verse is sort of saying, "Am ala qulubin aqfaluha," not "am ala qulubin al-aqfal," or something.
No.
It's, are the locks of the hearts upon their hearts, sort of.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate the your time with this because I was kind of like struggling with this.
No
Um,
problem.
and I think what really stuck out here for me now more is more of the first part. 'Cause I didn't include that, even though it's the whole statement. I didn't
Mm.
include that. I just started from walau kana. I
Yeah.
started from there. But yeah, interesting. And I thought it was
Yeah.
more because of content, because there's things in the Quran that I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to, for example, the Quran's challenge, right? They're
yeah.
saying that, produce a surah like it. I don't know if you've seen it, but I made a post on Reddit about that, sort of
Mhm.
giving guidance or outlines on how somebody could actually make a surah like the Quran, right? So
Yes.
I even put in, for example, I think that you could use anything which is repeated often in the Quran. You could use that.
Yes, of
So,
course.
Ghafoor Rahim, you can use that. You can use, um, أم يقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. When is this
Yes.
promise, if you are truthful? That comes up a lot of Quran. So you can put that. So I made like literally a word bank, a phrase bank, that any would-be surah maker could use. Like, yeah, go ahead, use these. Because nobody seems to be doing that, trying to do that systematically. I've seen a lot of attempts to make a surah like the Quran, and they're all just terrible, horrendous. They're either a mockery. Okay, they're trying to mock the Quran. They like take really crazy hadiths and make them out to be like a Quran, which is just silly. Okay, or they are trying to teach un-Quranic things like the Trinity or this or that or the other, right? Or they're trying to teach atheism. There's this one which is actually trying to a surah which is all about atheism and all
Oh,
about
for
how
real? Never
yeah,
heard
and
of that.
all about how the Quran is wrong and science is the light and blah blah blah. And it's like,
Okay.
can't anybody just do this? Take it seriously. Actually, try to do. It's to do a surah, right, like the Quran, as if it were a surah from the surah of the Quran. So if we put it among the surahs of the Quran, it would fit. Okay, it wouldn't be out of place. But anyway, so in the same way that challenge isn't about being producing something of the eloquence of the Quran, isn't about making something that rhymes like the Quran, isn't
Hmm.
about it's not about any of that, right? The Quran's challenge isn't about eloquence. A lot of people think it's about eloquence. It's not about
Yes, I've
eloquence.
heard that.
Okay, it's about making a surah literally just like the Quran, and it's not subjective. It's objective because it's telling you yourself, you who are doubting, to call your own witnesses other than God. You don't even need to get the Muslims involved or anything. You call your own witnesses. Okay, but take it seriously.
Interesting. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I know it's past.
No problem. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Thanks for coming on again.
Assalamu alaikum.
Let me just look because I saw some of the questions that were going on. I think there was something about Khidr again. This is didn't Allah allow Khidr to kill a boy? Yeah, well, if you go out and kill somebody now, Allah is going to allow you to kill somebody now as well, right? We are here to accumulate our own actions, right? Who has God ever stopped from doing something? Tell me that. Who did Allah not allow to do something? No, I mean, it doesn't work that way. I have another question. What about the challenge God directs those who claim that the messenger invents what he says? Then we put, oh yeah, mashallah, we did that just now without me seeing that question. All right, yeah. So I have Yusuf. I have actually a post on Reddit about that. If you'd like to read it, it's a long post where I give sort of like guidelines on how somebody could produce a surah like the Quran, and I put that at the end. To be honest, before that, I tried to explain that it's a legitimate challenge, okay, and that mostly it's misunderstood. Usually, Muslims think it's about eloquence. Okay, it's not about eloquence. If God had wanted to make something eloquent, send a Quran which is about eloquence, it would have been much better than this. Much better than this. Okay, there are pieces of poetry and pieces of Arabic prose which are as eloquent as the Quran. Okay, so it's not about that. And also, eloquence is about subject matter, right? Something which has a better subject matter. Okay, it will seem just more eloquent just because of the what you're talking about. The Quran, God sent it to be muyassar, right? It's supposed to be easy. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. We've made the Quran easy. Okay, it's easy. It's meant to be a reminder, the remembrance, and that. So even if somebody produces something more eloquent than the Quran, they failed the Quranic test. Okay, put it that way, right? Somebody makes something more eloquent than the Quran, that's a failure. It has to be like the Quran. I have many doubts about hadith, science fiction. Okay. What's this? Also, if the messenger says a revelation and someone says he's invented it, wouldn't asking the accuser to read a surah the like thereof, even a proof fallacy? Well, to be honest, I think people throw in fallacies too much. They say this fallacy, and unless you're trained in logic, I just wouldn't use those words. I just speak plainly, right? The Quran, the accusation is that Muhammad produced this surah, right? Then this Quran, he produced this Quran, he invented it. Okay, he invented it in God's name. So the challenge is, okay, fine. If you think Muhammad invented it in God's name, so he was able to do that, you also now likewise invent in Allah's name. Invent in Allah's name. Is it in Allah's name? Something like it. In God's voice, in the same way as the Quran is. So that's what the challenge is. It isn't about I don't know what kind of challenge you would call that, or put it in terms of logic and fallacies and stuff like that. But it's a very straightforward thing, right? You're saying he invented it. Okay, now you also invent. It's as simple as that. My Reddit is same. Just says Quranic Islam. If you check the Quraniyuna website subreddit, That's where a lot of my posts in, but I'll link it. In fact, do I have it linked here? Hold on. Do I have it open in another tab? Yes, I do. All right, I'll put it in the chat now. Okay, that's it. All right, okay. So I think we'll end it there. Jazakumullah khair. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining me once again. And as always, remember that you're free anytime. Invite anybody else you know who would like to come on and share any insights into the Quran, any contemplation, anything they thought about. Doesn't matter how wild they think it is, how true or untrue. It could be somebody else's contemplation that they want to share for us. Doesn't matter. The point is just to come on and express thoughts about verses of the Quran. With that said, and if there's nothing else, I'll be signing off. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.